You've been following and you've been tweeting about the president. People can follow your tweets in English. He's had 12 days in office. How's he doing?
Well, I'm doing pretty fine down here in Mexico. Hello, Canada. Pleasure, and thank you for the invitation to be here with you. I mean, the arguments, the discussion around the world, more than Mexico saying that they should not construct a wall, that's the prerogative, that's the right of United States to decide if they want to build a wall within their territory. And the only thing we're saying is, don't throw away your money. It's a waste of money. It was a waste of money, efforts, and sacrifice in building that Great Wall in China. And it was built with a purpose to refrain their enemies coming into China. And the Mongols and the Manchus crossed the wall, invaded China, and conquered China. Exactly same story with the wall in Berlin. Even one of the most famous U.S. presidents, President Reagan, came to that wall and said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear off that wall. And so if they want to waste their money in the United States, if they want to waste taxpayers' money, let them do. What we will never, ever, ever accept is to pay for that wall in Mexico. That's a crazy idea. It's out of any consideration. So that's firm, and that's what President Peña told Senor Trump, that we will never, ever pay for that wall. Congress in Mexico has already stated legally that that cannot happen. Now, if he wants to steal the money from the transferences of migrants working in the United States, it's a ghost hunting what he would have to do. And he must consider that every action and decision have a reaction and a consequence. If he taxes remittances, Mexico will do exactly the same thing, to tax all remittances from U.S. citizens into their country, or to tax, worst so, corporations on transferring their profits in Mexico. So nobody will win with this crazy wars. Everybody would lose. But when you have a crazy horse, a wild animal in front of you that doesn't understand reasons, then you have to act in a different manner. Eye for eye, teeth for teeth.
You have characterized him as a crazy animal, and yet, as you know, like Canada, there's a tremendous amount of trade between Mexico and the United States. How can Mexico continue to deal with the United States and continue to have trade with the United States?
You know, we both, Canada and Mexico, we have an even, almost a zero deficit or superávit in our trading. The deficit that United States has with both of us is the same deficit that United States has with every single economy in the world, starting with China, whose deficit is 350 billion. Canada's deficit is only about 20 billion. Mexico's deficit is around 50 billion. Imagine a Trump going after every economy that has a superávit over United States. He's absolutely wrong identifying the loss of jobs to Mexico or to Canada. The loss of jobs is for the robotic, huge drive in the automobile manufacturing industry, is because of a job transfer to new jobs for the new economy, the software, the applications, the technology. And he doesn't understand. He's absolutely an ignorant in economy.
I want to read you a line from a recent edition of Excelsior, an influential newspaper in your country. A columnist Gerardo Gazarla wrote this, and I'm just going to read what he said. Mexico is and will continue to be the neighbor of the United States, along with Canada, who has already sent us to hell. Is there a sense in Mexico that Canada is abandoning Mexico in NAFTA and is going to try to go their own way in trade with the United States?
This is not generalized all over Mexico, but yes, it's a consequence of a declaration of Prime Minister Trudeau, who said that he would have to protect the interests of Canadians and that he would have to let Mexico depend on its own. I think it's a very wrong declaration. I think that Canada should know that after Mexico, it's going to be Canada, because Canada exports more cars to the United States than what we do. So the best thing we can do is go hand by hand together, Canada and Mexico, and confront this crazy situation that this false prophet and this economic ignorant wants to take us to. So I invite Canada to join together with Mexico and defend our mutual interests. Canada has been greatly benefited by NAFTA, same as Mexico. In Canada and Mexico, we have a lot to lose. We will lose a lot of income and a lot of jobs. But this is something we cannot avoid if this guy insists. His stubbornness is radical. And so Mexico is preparing for a negotiation, which right now is like playing cards. Mexico has told Trump, if you don't want NAFTA, let's get rid of NAFTA. We have to play that way in front of a guy that has described in his book that negotiating is first defeating your opponent, is first make him and destroy him, and then you negotiate on your advantage. That's an absolute crazy idea. Negotiating always has to be successful, a win-win situation. The opponent has to give you space to have a win, and you have to give your opponent the same thing. That's trade agreements, an exchange of where you're strong and where you're weak. But this guy doesn't understand anything. He's crazy. He's just responding to his constituency, which is those white Americans, middle class, that claim that they have lost their jobs when the United States has today, right at this moment, the best unemployment rate that it has had in decades and decades. So it's crazy to say that he will make America strong when America is so strong, so successful. It's crazy to tell people that terrorists come from Mexico. Next day, he's going to say they come from Canada. Canada has more Muslim population than what we have in Mexico. Or next day, he will take the move to go against Slovenia, the land of his wife, because they have over 50,000 Muslims. Why he's not attacking Slovenia? Why he's attacking migrant when his wife is a migrant? And so on and on. He's a crazy guy that breaks anything that he touches.
President Fox, we'll end it there, but I want to thank you so much for your time on this issue.